Date is Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. Today's invocation will be given by Reverend Jason Carr, pastor of the Apostolic Church of Beaumont. If everyone would please silence your cell phone, and if you so choose, please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we come before you this afternoon so humbly, seeking your presence and your wisdom and guidance for this session today, Lord. Your word commands us to seek your peace for the city we abide in, God. And as your child, I'm asking God for your peace to rest down upon this city. Put a hedge of protection about it, O Lord, that is so desperately needed in the day that we live today. We ask God for your wisdom, your direction, your guidance, Lord, for those that lead and direct our city, God, for efficiency and clarity, Lord, for all those that work on the citizens' behalf, God, that we would see your kingdom come, your will be done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have roll call, please?
Mayor West.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Turner. Here. Councilmember Durio.
Here.
Councilmember Hilliard. Here. Councilmember Williams. Here. Councilmember Sherwood. Here. And Councilmember Crenshaw. Here. Thank you.
Okay, today we have two presentations, and the first one will be the City of Beaumont Communication Update.
Good afternoon. In this week's announcements, our free movies in the park are continuing with 2 movie showings this month. This Friday, catch How to Train Your Dragon at Charlton Pollard Park. Then on Friday, July 24th, stop by Sprout Park for Hoppers. All movies start at dusk. School might be out, but the bus ride is still on. Students can ride the City of Beaumont's ZIP transit system free all summer long. Just a reminder, high school students must show a valid student ID, and younger riders should be accompanied by a parent or a guardian. To view routes and schedules, visit beaumontzip.com. The Mayor's Coalition Against Violence will hold its next community meeting on Wednesday, July 15th from 5:30 to 7 o'clock p.m. in the Downtown Event Center. The community members are encouraged to attend, learn about ongoing violence prevention efforts, and join the conversation about building a safer Beaumont. We hope to see you there. If you're looking for the perfect way to spend a summer evening, join us for Jazz at the Lake on Thursday, July 23rd at the Downtown Event Center from 5:30 to 7:30. This is a free, family-friendly concert featuring headlining saxophonist Dean James. Guests can also enjoy complimentary beverages while relaxing by the lake and enjoying an evening of live music. Bring your friends and family and experience one of Beaumont's favorite summer traditions in the heart of downtown. The Atlantic hurricane season is officially underway, and the time to get prepared is before severe weather strikes. Visit beaumonttexas.gov/alert to sign up for the City of Beaumont's emergency notifications. You'll also find links to register with STEER, which helps emergency planners assist residents who are elderly, have disabilities, or have medical needs during disasters, as well as STAN, Southeast Texas Regional Emergency Alert System, for weather updates, evacuation notices, and recovery information. Again, you can now sign up for all 3 at beaumonttexas.gov/alert. And speaking of emergencies, we want to say congratulations to the city's Public Health Department for earning the Project Public Health Ready recognition from the National Association of County and City Health Officials. Yes. This national recognition shows that the department is prepared to respond to public health emergencies and help keep our community safe during disasters. Beaumont Public Health earned this designation through 2030 by meeting national preparedness standards and demonstrating its commitment to emergency planning and response. Only 13 health departments in Texas has received this recognition, and just 16% in the health departments they represent in the U.S. Congratulations to the entire public health team on this well-deserved achievement. And that's all for this week's announcements. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. And at this point, we have the presentation for City of Beaumont Service Awards.
Mayor, I'm going to ask us to step up and we'll present awards. Is somebody from HR going to help us? Oh, we've got Miss Jackie Gunner. Mayor, as we walk down, I want to just share a couple thoughts. This is always a special time of year to recognize our employees, especially with long tenures with the City of Beaumont. You know, in a world where it's a matter of instant gratification, and we have folks that jump from job to job. It's very reassuring to see folks who dedicate sometimes their entire working careers to the city, as well as our citizens. You know, in institutions, especially the size of city organizations, the size of the city of Beaumont, there's something called institutional knowledge, and it's knowledge that may not be written down, but it's knowledge that's important to get the job done and serve our citizens. And so as we look to honor these long tenured employees, it's important to keep in mind institutional knowledge. Item G on today's agenda is about $80,000 for servers, okay, computer servers. And we use technology to try to store our information, convey our information to do our jobs better. But the information, the institutional knowledge that these folks hold, these long tenured employees rather, it's tough to put a value on. So I just want to extend my appreciation to them as we recognize them for their long service. Thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, I talked about institutional knowledge. Our first employee is Kenneth Coleman, who's our public health director. And I failed to mention, Kenneth Coleman has been with the city for 35 years. You know, I mentioned institutional knowledge. I'm going to point out, Kenneth, you know, when we went through several years ago, you know, how do you handle a pandemic, global pandemic on the local level? I don't think there were many instruction books. And so thankfully, hopefully we'll never have to go through that again. But again, I appreciate your service during that time, your service through the career, and look forward to many more years, right? 35. Okay. Next, with the police department, Sergeant Darren Childress with 30 years. Okay. Mr. Childress, Sergeant Childress cannot be with us today. But we also have District Fire Chief Jared Smith with 30 years. Okay, looks like District Chief could not be here. I'm going to talk about institutional knowledge again. You know, when we have these storms, you know, which roads are passable, which are impassable, all these things that we try to get in our technology out to our employees so they can do their job properly. But having folks with this amount of tenure, it's tough. It's tough to just rely on technology for these kinds of things. Next, we have with 25 years, Deputy Fleet Manager Sean Dye. All right, thank you, Sean. And next we have, with 25 years, Police Officer Robert Rector. All right. And next we have WIC Nutrition Manager Jamie Wright with 25 years. Yes. You wanna do another? All right. And finally, with 25 years, we have Police Officer Charles Young.
Years of service. And for those that are here for the presentation and you wish to leave, now's the time to do so. And certainly appreciate you being here for it. Now we're going to move into public comments. Now's the time for any citizen who wishes to speak. You may make public comments on the consent agenda, regular agenda items 1 through 5, or any other topic. Items 6 through 10 have already been heard in public hearing. Therefore, citizens cannot speak on these items. The city clerk will call your name when it's your time to speak. When you approach the podium, please say your address, city, and state unless it's already been stated. You will have 3 minutes for public comments. The green light will come on when you approach the podium, and the red light will come on when your time is up. Please remember that while you're at the podium, members of council will not be able to respond to your comments or questions regarding posted agenda items. However, they may address any other questions afterwards, and certainly we may have staff get with you after the comment too.
Charlie Crabb, 928 East Drive, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, Mr. Boone, and staff, and all employees in attendance. My name is Charlie Crabb. I live at 928 East Drive, Beaumont, Texas, our town. It's a wonderful world here to be in Beaumont. I don't know how long I've been here, but it's been a long time. I really come down to tell Mr. Boone congratulations for moving from the south side of the room to the north side. Very nice. I have to say the salary was a little high, but I think it'll work out over the years. Let's see. Oh yeah, Mr. Lee, I guess may have he went on to greater things. He's a fine young man, probably going to be going on to greater things. And another fellow here, Councilman Turner, moving on to another job. Councilman Turner, you know that's a real job. It ain't just a councilman job. I know a little bit about streets, you know, and I can be an inspector to tell you if the roads look good or what have you. But it's great that you're moving on. You're gonna be a fine deal. Well, let's see what else we got. Oh yeah, my mom used to tell me, Charles, straighten up, you know. Fly right, go right or something. And I really think she was telling me stay in my lane. And I just wanted to convey that to Ms. Reed, you know, stay in your lane, Ms. Reed, we need you here. Let's see. All the staff, Ms. Broussard and the engineer and the accounting and all the water and sewer and streets and drainage and parks and the dog pound. That needs to be a dog pound. We don't need to collect animals until we have too many that we can't handle. But anyway, I'm running out of time, and I just want to convey to Beaumont, it's a great place to live, and thank everybody for their service. Keep things going. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Kristen Basil, there was no address given, Mayor. Can you state your address for the record, please?
It's a 700 North Street, Suite B in Beaumont. I'm actually with Special Olympics Texas. So I'm one of the community outreach directors that works specifically here with Beaumont, Southeast Texas, and just wanted to introduce myself We've got a lot of athletes that are here. We service those individuals that have some sort of intellectual disability or cognitive delay from all ages, starting at 2 with them for life. So we want to really just engage more with the community, with our city members, and let them know that we're here to help. If you know of anybody, if you have someone in your family, or if you have friends that need assistance, want to get involved, whether it's in sports or developing work skills and leadership skills, we've got events coming up really soon here at Texas Roadhouse. On July 23rd, our athletes and officers are going to be out there, so come get some amazing cinnamon butter rolls and meet the athletes. But we also have swim competitions, bowling, fishing, yes, fishing, and just really want to extend the invite to everybody to look us up and come join. And feel free to reach out to me. My name is Kristen Basil, once again, Community Outreach Director. My direct email is kbasel@sotx.org if you would like to connect and learn more. Thank you, officers.
Thank you.
Albert Harrison, 1240 Ashley, Beaumont, Texas. Thank you. Castile Colbert Jr., 2575 Wilson Street, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon to our mayor, our city council, and manager, city manager, and citizens of Beaumont. I am Bishop Castile Colbert Jr., the senior pastor of the Gospel of Jesus Christ Church. I'm honored to stand before you today on behalf of a growing coalition of pastors, churches, community leaders, and concerned citizens who believe that the future of Beaumont is worth investing in. I would like to personally invite each of you and the citizens of our community to participate in an upcoming citywide initiative called One Faith, One City, One Baptism. As we all know, our city is facing challenges that require all of us to come together. In recent months, we have witnessed an alarming rise in youth violence incidents involving young people in our community. These events have deeply impacted families, neighborhoods, schools, and our city as a whole. While we recognize that there is no simple solutions, we believe that now is the time for the faith community, civic leaders, educators, parents, and concerned citizens to unite together around a common purpose. We recognize that the need of the unity, hope, prayer, mentorship, and positive direction for our families and youth is very essential. That's why churches from across Beaumont are joining forces to encourage our young people, strengthen our families, promote peace, and help create pathways that lead to purpose rather than violence. Our goal is simple. We are going to change our city. If we are going to change our city, we must change lives, one person at a time. Lasting transformation happens when individuals discover hope, purpose, and a sense of belonging. On Sunday, July the 19th at 3 p.m., we will gather at Collier's Ferry Park for a powerful afternoon of prayer, worship, unity, and baptism. Last year, nearly 50 individuals declared their commitment to a new life through baptism, and we're believing for even more this year. This is more than an event. It is a movement of faith, unity, and community transformation. It is people from different backgrounds, churches, organizations, and neighborhoods coming together with one purpose: to see Beaumont become stronger, safer, and more unified. We invite the members of this council, city staff, community organizations, law enforcement, educators, all citizens to join us as we stand together for the future of our city. Together, we can send a message to our young people that they are valued, they are needed, and their future matters. Let us work together to build a Beaumont where hope is greater than violence, unity is stronger than division, and faith inspires positive change. Thank you for this opportunity to stand before you and for your continued service to our city. We look forward to seeing you on July 19th. One faith, one city, one baptism. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor.
Tony Lagon, 4240 Inez Street, Beaumont, Texas.
Is it still morning or is it afternoon? Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. I had a lot of things I wanted to say, but the gentleman that just left, he's the one back there, what's his name? He softened me. And so I decided to just come up here and just tell you who I am. Once again, I am an advocate for anything that I see that needs to be advocated for, give a voice to. And my thing now is the homeless, of course, because that's near and dear to my heart. Now, I know that Crenshaw is an animal lover because he did a successful job with the dog, whatever you did for the dogs. But I really have a problem with that. It's because, I mean, I think we're not looking at the problem with this homeless situation like we should. You know, these are human beings and they deserve somewhere to live. I'm sorry. I have a problem with that. We talked about Tent City when Roy West first came on, you know, and I thought they were going to do something. I'm having a real problem. I really am, you know. So I decided to just use the rest of my time to be silent. And I hope I can, you know, I hope that's okay today, you know, because I'm really upset. You know, I have a lot of sleepless nights because I worry about people not being able to eat or being heat exhausted. Like Henry's Place, feeding people oatmeal and coffee every day. Come on now. They raise money. We have food. We can feed people. We can. So I would love your job, Mike Williams. One day I'm going to go for it. You see what I'm saying? I would love a lot of change. You know, I love everybody. I really do. So silence. And I'm not an angry Black woman. I'm a hurt Black woman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerome Alexander, 1118 Avalon Street, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Councilman, Councilwoman. I come here today, first I'd like to applaud Mr. Tony for standing up for the homeless people. We do got a problem. Due to the fact, we got a food bank and Henry's right there, and every morning they just get coffee and grits and water. That's it. And they come to my house all the time. Scooby-Doo, can you help us? Can you help us? Can you go down there and help us? So that's why I come down here to fight for them. They need help. And like ain't nobody want to help them. But they got the money and they got the food. We got the food banks. They can help them. And one other thing I'd like to address is Miss Miley, Mr. Boone. I would like Mr. Harris. I'd like to know when can we get together with Mr. Harris and have a meeting about this water lines that's all exposed in the neighborhood. When can you give us the time frame that and on the sidewalks? Because they got sidewalks go all the way from behind the mall to Major Drive, and they use the taxpayers' money. Thank you.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. If there's no other public comments, we're going to move into the consent agenda. Is there a motion and a second for the consent agenda? There is a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Yes, Councilman Durio.
Item E, the equipment for the public works as far as traffic go. I just want to know, is this the same company that provided we got traffic equipment from before that we've been having some problems with.
And this is, sorry, excuse me. This is just the little switches that go in the cabinets. It's just to help for communications between the traffic boxes. So it's not the actual signal equipment.
No, but I think we was having problems inside some of the boxes.
That would,
So we were having, some of the equipment is old that we are replacing. But then we also found like that one intersection that you reached out to us. That was an operator issue that someone had operated the signal. So this is to replace stuff that has reached its end of life, but it's not necessarily poorly. It's not a bad company. That we're replacing with.
Is that like the same equipment? Remember we was waiting for a part for the traffic signal at Washington and I-10?
That was, I'm going to keep looking at you, Terry. We were waiting on some equipment to get delivered. Again, this was stuff that had exceeded its service life and that also had experienced damage. And we had damage at that intersection with the wiring and the work that the contractor had done. So there was a delay in getting that equipment replaced and getting the wiring to that signal replaced. So, but as far as if that's the exact same as this company, I don't have that information.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
we have not replaced any switches in traffic boxes in the last probably 2 years. Well, besides the ones we've been replacing as a phased approach for the last couple of budget cycles. So it wouldn't have been a switch.
Okay.
All right, any other questions about the consent agenda or discussion? All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 1?
Yes, sir. Mayor and Council, item number 1 is to consider a resolution to accept and execute a grant agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation for $79,276 to subsidize transit operating costs. The Texas Transportation Commission is authorizing the distribution of fiscal year 2026 state transit funding to eligible transit providers throughout Texas. The City of Beaumont was awarded funding under this action to assist in offsetting increased fuel costs associated with the operation of the public transit. I'm sorry?
Reading L.
Oh, I'm sorry. My eye looks like a 1.
So,
Yeah, now we'll go to item 1. That was I of the consent agenda.
Okay. In that case, let me see. Item number 1 is to consider a resolution approving a depository service contract with Stellar Bank. Chapter 105, the Texas Local Government Code, requires that the City of Beaumont competitively solicit financial institutions to provide primary depository services at least every 5 years. The current depository agreement with Stellar Bank expires on September 30th, 2026, and all options to renew have been exhausted. The city, with the assistance of Valley View Consulting, LLC, conducted the required solicitation and received 7 applications to provide primary depository services to the city. After detailed review and analysis of the applications, it was determined that the incumbent bank, Stellar Bank, provided the most advantageous application to serve the city's primary depository services provider. Stellar Bank has served the city well during the current contract period, and based on its application, is expected to continue to be a good business partner with the city. The administration recommends approval of this resolution, and you should have in your council packet the analysis and recommendation that comes through that comes from our Valley View Consulting third party. And
All right,
again, administration recommends approval.
Is there a motion for item number 1?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of item number 1. Is there any discussion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. How much did we spend on Valley View Consulting to tell us which bank to use?
We'll ask Bridget. Bridget, do you have that?
Yeah, they are our consultants, so like investments too. So this was all part of that contract.
Okay, so it's a contract? So what was the total?
There are investment advisors. I would have to look at the total.
Councilman, we can get you that information.
We'll get you that information.
Yeah, I'm just curious why we need a consultant to tell us which bank to use. It just seems like something that could be done with staff.
So Councilman, really quickly, I will point out that during our last budget workshop, we had a lot of questions. I think this was one of the questions is our investment returns and things like that. And so if you'll notice, we've handed out responses to that work session, and included also is the investment policy, because how we handle our deposits as well as our investments is heavily regulated by the state law. And so again, attached in the agenda item is the analysis by Valley View, but also, and I realize you're just getting this now, but also attached is the investment policy.
Yeah, I see the policy. I guess I think I was one of the ones that originally had requested that information about how our investments are doing. And I was hoping to get hard numbers on investments, you know, like what we projected our rate of return to be on our invested money, like whether it was 5% or 6% or whatever, and how we were doing. And I was trying to provide, you know, people that were asking a silver lining, and that, yes, we're over budget in some areas, but maybe here's some good news that our investments are returning more money than we projected. So this is more money, you know, and more revenue. But I still haven't gotten a clear picture on that. But thank you for the 15-page policy that the city has on that. I don't recall that necessarily being part of what I was looking for, but I'll take a look at that later.
Again, Councilman, you're just receiving this. So the second page of what you got in your handout is refers to our yield, which is 3.84%.
Okay. Okay, great. And then, so it looks like Bank of America is actually better so far as its fees, less its return on investment, but I would never suggest using Bank of America. So I'm very happy with the selection of Stellar. But I guess my question is are we using Stellar because its numbers aren't as good as Bank of America when you look at the total cost?
Whenever you look at the total cost, the difference so if you'll look at, I'm not sure where you're at on your packet, but page 71 is the comparison, and it actually shows Bank of America over a 3 and 5 year period coming in at more expensive than Stellar. Stellar outperformed.
I saw Stellar outperformed on the investments, but I thought the fees were higher on Stellar's side, which made Bank of America overall. No?
No, the net was better with Stellar.
The net was better with Stellar?
Yes.
And that's on page 71?
Yes.
And it gives us the net?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so it's just by the 100,000. Okay. All right. And we've had Stellar for the last 5 years?
That is correct.
And everything?
Well, I think it Stellar through after Allegiance.
They've been through numerous, transitions and all that, but overall the relationship is good there?
Yes, it's fantastic. Every time that we've had any kind of question or issue pop up, they are always on it.
Great. And that's been my experience with them as well. So I'm happy to hear that they came in at the numbers they did, and I think that's a great choice for our local banking. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Turner, then Councilman Durio.
Well, actually, Councilman Crenshaw kind of addressed my question. I was looking at interest rates and fees as well, so you kind of already answered that, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Durio?
Yeah, I was just wondering, it says the current agreement with Stellar Bank expires September 30th and all options to renew have been exhausted. and then you come back and we recommend that we go with Stellar Bank? I mean, why didn't they just renew?
So when you approve a contract, it has only so many renewal terms. Again, as the manager mentioned, it's heavily regulated, so we can't continue the contract in perpetuity. So it's required that we review the contract after the expiration of renewal period ends. And the reason why it's being brought to you so early is that so we can have a seamless transition. We can execute the contract, renew whatever contract documents need to be renewed without our existing contract lapsing.
And so we couldn't,
No, sir. So
all the options for the existing contract were
Yes, sir.
done,
So
and we had to get a new contract.
Yes, sir. So most of the time, we have a 3-year option to renew. So we'll do the contract for a 5-year period and then do 3 years to renew, or do it for a 2-year period with a year to renew in the contract term. And once those renewal periods end, you are required to go back out for bids for it. And that's almost in all situations where we have longstanding accounts. We're required to rebid it every so now to make sure the city is still getting the best rate and best value.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving item number 1, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 2, please?
Sir, item number 2 is to consider resolution declaring an intent of the city to reimburse itself from proceeds of bonds expected to be issued for certain project expenditures incurred prior to the issuance of certain debt. A reimbursement resolution enables the city to reimburse itself for expenditures incurred prior to the issuance of certain debt. On June 2nd, 2026, City Council approved the resolution for intent resolution to authorize the publication of a notice of intention to issue certificate of obligations, or COs, in the principal amount not to exceed $11,692,000. These COs are to fund capital projects budgeted for the purpose of the construction of public works, more specifically the construction and improvement of parks and park facilities, as well as roads and the drainage system. Currently, the city is in the process of issuing the COs for the cost of various projects and anticipates closing on the issuance of the debt for funding for these projects around the end of July or early August. However, there are some projects and purchases the city wishes to begin now and then reimburse itself once the CO debt is issued. The projects the city would like to begin now and later be reimbursed for include the following: pool upgrades to the Magnolia Park, city pool, splash pad renovations, as well as pickleball court constructions at the Beaumont Tennis Center. Again, this resolution does not authorize the issuance of debt or the creation of any immediate financial obligation. It rather just allows us to reimburse ourselves from the CO proceeds. Funding is available through the Capital Reserve Fund, as well as the eventual issuance of the COs. The administration recommends approval of the resolution.
Thank you. Is there a motion for item number 2? Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 2. Is there any discussion? Councilman Durio.
I'm a little confused. We're reimbursing ourselves, but we're issuing debt for some things. Weren't some of these things didn't pass on the bond?
No, sir. So these are all items that are in this capital plan, dating back actually to prior years. And so, again, if you look real quickly, like the Magnolia Pool, this is going to be ADA lifts, piping and pumps, striping. In terms of the splash pad, we've got replacement of equipment, elevation of equipment, and then 6 new pickleball courts. So again, this is not part of the GEO bond for the benefit of the public. That's a different set of projects. These were already in the capital plan to move forward this year. So again, we'll have to issue the CO debts to pay for it, but this would allow us to go ahead and get started.
Thank you.
Any other Councilman Crenshaw.
And that's just what I wanted to clarify, because I think there was some confusion. This isn't money coming out of the bond that we did for the infrastructure that passed. This is a bond, that's a separate bond that we did, that's just the GO.
Yeah, so our normal, every year, every couple of years, we issue CO debt to do capital programs out of the CIP. So this is regular money, yes, sir.
Okay, great. And we don't have a total amount?
Of the bond?
No, a total amount that we're reimbursing out of?
Oh, not yet.
Okay.
But it won't exceed, obviously, that.
And will this help us improve on the, us going over budget this year? Will it help that number improve? We'll now shift to money coming out of the bond instead of the general fund?
The funds would all come out, they're basically all capital funds. So short answer, the concern with the budget is more operating and maintenance. So this is more capital. So short answer
won't
is
affect that.
not much, no,
Okay,
sir.
understood. Thank you.
Councilman Turner.
Just with the pools, can somebody explain the importance of the ADH compliance? I know we kind of talked about that a while ago.
Yes, sir. So there are federal regulations and state code regulations that require ADA compliance for all swimming pools. And so in order for us, we have two pools. In order for us to be in compliance fully with those requirements, we have to make sure that we have all the facilities. So I believe these include some chairs and different amenities. We hired a consultant a couple years ago to basically do an assessment to make sure we're completely up to code on both of our pools, and some of this information came out of that. But again, ADA is a federal and state requirement.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 3?
Yes, sir. Item number 3 is to consider resolution accepting payment in the amount of $2,359 for the total principal amount of weed liens and the weed lien assessment fees that were filed on August 4, 1983 through November 19, 1990 on property legally described as lots 3 and 4, Block 2, Alvin addition to the City of Beaumont, 3255 and 3265 Christopher Street, waiving interest in the total amount of $8,523.41. On April 13, 2026, the city received a request from the owner of the above properties, Mr. Alan Joseph, requesting relief from the payoff of the numerous weed liens under a previous owner's name, Mr. Benjamin Goodman. The liens were placed on the two properties back in 1983 and 1990. Mr. Joseph had been unaware of these liens until he had discovered them through some title search. Attached is an updated payoff statement, which is good through July 7, 2026. The total came to $10,882.41, of which $2,305 is principal, $8,523.41 is interest, and $54 is the amount of the filing fee. It should be pointed out that the total combined market value of the properties per the Jefferson County Tax Office is $2,444 for tax year 25. Current proposed amount is $9,252 for the 2026 tax year. The administration does recommend approval of this resolution.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion for item number 3? Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 3. Is there any discussion? Councilman Turner?
Is it a scope of work or something that we're looking to see happen with these properties that didn't happen in the past to make us remove these fees?
I'm not aware of one. I mean, the hope is that someone's taking care of it, mowing it, and paying the taxes. But in terms of a program, in terms of a development of the property, I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, the last thing I do is I struggle with removing these type of fees, and we're not aware if we're going to continuously have to go out and, cut, because at the end of the day, we're contracting somebody out and we're eating those expenses, and to remove fees and we're going back out and continuously cutting. I don't know if that's feasible for the city.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out for the public's benefit, when we mow a property, we certainly don't want to have to mow it, but sometimes we do for public health reasons. Obviously, the city's out of pocket for the mowing. We're also out of pocket sometimes for filing fees of liens, which are not that extensive. But where the bulk of this money comes in is basically accrued interest since going back to the 1980s. And so we could say, look, we don't want to waive anything, but I guess sometimes how we look at it and the reason why we propose it is you have all of this, which is actually just accrued interest. So it's not an actual direct cost to the city. So what we try to recommend is let's cover our original cost to mow it and file, but we'll, again, consider waiving the interest, which is accrued over time. The idea is if there's too much interest accrued over time, or that if the value of the property is way out of whack in terms of what's owed, it's a disincentive for folks to buy the property and keep mowing it. And if they don't, then it goes back to the city mowing it. So that's the reason why we would even consider proposing it.
Councilman Durio, then Councilwoman Sherwood.
So when Mr. Joseph bought this property, I mean, when he go to closing, wouldn't they show that they had a lien on this property for fees and taxes or whatever? And shouldn't that, whoever he bought it from, shouldn't right off the top, those liens be paid off before they receive money for it?
It's not uncommon for folks to not do a title search, to just buy it, and I don't know the history on this one, but we could certainly find out. Sometimes oftentimes if it goes to tax sale, a lot of these liens are extinguished. But it's not uncommon, I guess, for folks to buy and sell property without doing an actual title search. But yes, if a title search is done, it's usually found.
If I could, so this particular property are actually two different tracts. If you actually look at the deed history, it wasn't purchased, it was like inherited is what it looks like. Or through some kind of process like that, and it was actually through several different people. So, because I had the first original thought that was similar to yours.
But I mean, whether it was inherited or not, even if it was inherited, whoever inherits it is responsible for paying that stuff. But I want to know what benefit is it to the city to do this?
The benefit to us, and again, we don't submit too many of these to council for consideration. The benefit to us is that our hope is that someone continues to pay taxes and mow it, and then hopefully develop it or keep it occupied. So that's the benefit to us. And then again, we're always at the starting point of we would like for you to cover the original cost to the city to mow. Because we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of properties that are unproductive that we do continue to mow. So again, it's a decision for council, and we certainly see both sides of the consideration.
And if I can just add, just to reiterate, these liens were from 1990, so we haven't been adding more since then.
All right, and Councilwoman Sherwood. Thank you,
So
Councilman.
I guess if I'm understanding correctly, the person that owns it currently is offering to pay the actual price of mowing from the time that this got started, correct? Am I understanding that they're willing to pay right now? And so there's been no money and no.
They are looking to sell the property, I believe, is my understanding.
So something's happening.
Yes,
regardless.
correct.
Whatever.
And currently the liens are actually, after you add interest, it's worth more than the property. So if it was me personally, I mean, that wouldn't make sense to sell a piece of property.
To answer your question, yes, they're looking to waive the interest and they're willing to pay the filing and the
Okay,
original.
so if they're willing to do that and we've had no movement and we've done nothing with this besides cut it since 1990, whatever, 80s, 90s, whatever.
I don't believe we cut it since the 90s, so it's not a recurring cost. This is from cutting fees from
Right.
the
So,
90s.
but we've been incurring this fee and whatever interest till whatever time we decided not to, but there's been no movement and now we do. And the way that we get some money is by reducing this interest fee that ultimately does not serve us any purpose. Am I understanding correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor of approval of item number 3, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
The motion is carried. Councilman Duria.
He didn't make the motion to approve. He seconded the motion to approve. He can vote now.
All right, Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 4?
Yes, sir. Item number 4 is to consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Hydromax USA LLC of Capel, Texas. The city seeks to perform an assessment of air release valves within both the water distribution and sewer collection systems. These valves remove trapped air pockets that accumulate in pipelines during normal operation. Proper function of these valves is important to maintain system pressure, efficiency, and overall system performance. The proposed scope of services includes inspection, cleaning, maintenance, and evaluation of valve conditions to identify any deficiencies and support system reliability. Total pricing in the amount of $52,500 was obtained from Hydromax USA LLC of Capel, Texas, through the Interlocal Purchasing System, Purchasing Cooperative Contract Number 240501, which complies with the state of Texas procurement statutes. Funding is available through the Water Fund, and the administration recommends approval.
Is there a motion for item number 4? Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 4. Is there any discussion or questions? All those in favor of approval of item number 4, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 5, please?
Yes, sir. Item number 5 is to consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute change order number 3 to the contract with King Solution Services LLC of Houston, Texas for the street rehab phase 6 sewer line replacement project. On July 1st, 2025, by resolution 25-140, City Council awarded a contract to King Solution Services LLC of Houston in the amount of $1,812,155 for the street rehab phase 6 sewer line replacement project. Change orders numbers 1 through 2, totaling $210,921.50, were previously approved and are attached for reference. Proposed change order number 3 in the amount of $44,295 is requested to address field verified conditions identified during construction and to reconcile bid quantities with field conditions. The proposed change order includes adjustments to 5 existing bid items, removes 2 bid items, and adds 1 new bid item, and incorporates revised plan, sheet 5 in the contract documents to reflect field verified conditions. Additional work is required due to collapsed sewer pipes, higher than anticipated number of manholes, and end-of-line cleanouts and extended lengths of sanitary sewer requiring with 8-inch HDPE pipe. 2 bid items were proposed for removal and will be deferred to a future project as needed. The change order also adds a bid item for placement of a bank sand to fill voids in residential yards caused by deterioration of the existing sanitary sewer line, which resulted in soil loss and ground subsidence. If approved, the new contract amount will be $2,067,371.50. Funding is available through water revenue bonds, and the administration recommends approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 5?
So moved.
Second. There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 5. There is a question from Councilwoman Sherwood.
It says that they had higher than anticipated number of manholes. What does that mean exactly? Where did the manholes come from that weren't wherever they were normally at?
So normally, we have most of our system is mapped, and we go out in the field to try to assess the conditions. A lot of this work that is happening is in backyards or in areas that have been paved over that it's not readily apparent that those manholes exist. And so as we come across these and discover them, also too, while we're televising the interior of the lines, we can find surprises that way as well.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, Councilman Crenshaw.
Molly, is this the 23rd Street area?
This is the South Park area. Some of this is in Milam. The 23rd Street area is a separate contract with a different contractor.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor of approval of item number 5, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Are the Mike and Ikes any good? They're not bad. I hadn't had any. We were given some, so they've been tempting the whole time. That's all right. All right, Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 6?
Sir, item number 6 is to consider a request for approval of rezoning from GCMD, General Commercial Multifamily Dwelling District, to RS Residential Single Family Dwelling District for property located at 3405 Magnolia Avenue. Stephen Humphrey is requesting approval to rezone the property located at 3405 Magnolia. The purpose of the request is to allow construction of a single-family home. At a joint public hearing held June 15, 2026, the Planning Commission recommended 6-0 to approve the request for the rezoning. The administration recommends approval of the ordinance.
Is there a motion for item number 6?
So moved to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of item number 6. Is there any questions or discussions on item 6?
Just comment.
Yes, Councilman Turner.
Well, it's just good to see, a developer willing to come in and go from multifamily and look at residential, single-family homes. I think that's something we've been looking for, and specifically in that area, I think that'll be good for that community.
Thank you, Councilman. No other discussion or questions. All those in favor of item number 6, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 7?
Yes, sir. Item number 7 is to consider a request for approval of a specific use permit to allow an automotive and tire repair shop within an NC neighborhood commercial zoning district for property located at 3268 Highland Avenue. Brianna Ledesma is requesting approval of a specific use permit to operate an automotive tire repair shop at this address. The subject property previously was used as an automotive repair shop. However, the business has been closed for several years, and the property has since been used for personal storage. At a joint public hearing held on June 15, 2026, the Planning Commission recommended 6-0 to approve the request for the specific use permit, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, shall submit a parking plan to be approved by the Public Works Director. Number 2, all automotive work shall be conducted within the enclosed building. And number 3, shall remain in compliance with the building code, fire code, zoning code, offenses and nuisance code, health and sanitation code, and all other applicable codes of the city. And number 4, shall meet all requirements by the water utilities for water and sanitary sewer services, including any requirements of the city's backflow pretreatment and/or fog program. The administration recommends approval of this ordinance with the same conditions.
All right, is there a motion for item number 7?
Move to approve.
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 7. Is there any discussion? Yes, Councilman Williams.
So neighborhood commercial, that just opens it up to where they don't have, the zoning just kind of mixes together, or what is that specifically?
So it's like neighborhood scale zoning. So it's usually near your residential areas. So it should be like lower density type of uses. in this particular case, a auto repair shop could be allowable with an SUP.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
Just one comment. This is gonna be located on Highland Street, and that part is mostly all commercial on Highland Street.
All right, any other? All those in favor of approval of item number 7, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 8, please?
Yes, item number 8 is to consider a request for a specific use permit to allow a pediatric behavioral health clinic specializing in autism services within an RCRH Residential Conservation Revitalization Historic Zoning District for the property located at 575 North 7th Street. Alexander Torres, on behalf of Golden Triangle ABA Services, is requesting approval of the specific use permit to allow a behavioral health clinic specializing in autism services at this location. At a joint public hearing held June 15, 2026, the Planning Commission recommended 6-0 to approve the request, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, construction plans must meet all requirements by water utilities for water and sanitary sewer services, including any requirements of the city's backflow pretreatment and/or FOG FOG program. Any construction shall be in compliance with all applicable building and fire codes. The administration recommends approval of the ordinance with the same conditions.
Is there a motion for item number 8?
So moved.
There is a motion, and we'll give that to Councilman Hilliard and a second to Councilwoman Sherwood. Is there any questions or discussion for item number 8?
I like to.
Yes.
I just
Councilman
think that
Hilliard.
this is a great idea, especially for families that have kids with autism. I think it's an amazing thing, and it's going to be a great, it's going to complement our city well.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion? All those in favor of approval of item number 8, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 9, please?
Yes, sir. Item number 9 is to consider a request for approval of a specific use permit to allow a parking lot for motorcycle training within a GCMD 2 General Commercial Multifamily Dwelling 2 zoning district for property located at 1215 Denton Drive. Better Built Metal Buildings LLC, on behalf of Harley Davidson, is requesting approval of a specific use permit to allow this proposed use. The proposed lot will be a controlled environment where newly licensed riders can receive hands-on operational training and safety instruction prior to operating motorcycles on public roadways. The property will be designed to promote rider safety, confidence, and responsible operation of motorcycles within the community. At a joint public hearing held June 15, 2026, the Planning Commission recommended 6-0 to approve the specific use permit, subject to the following condition. The applicant shall provide letters from the adjacent nursing homes north and south of the subject property prior to the item being placed on the City Council agenda. The administration recommends approval of this ordinance with the same condition, and I should point out that those letters, I believe, are in your packet.
All right, thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Move to approve.
Second.
There is a motion from Councilwoman Sherwood and seconded by Councilman Hilliard for item number 9. Is there any discussion?
Just one comment.
Yes, sir.
So they did ask for this to get, because when they first came to the planning and zoning, they didn't have anybody from the surrounding area, but they went back and they got these letters and none of them objected to it, so I think it'll be something good.
Yes, sir. Agreed. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 10, please?
Yes, sir. Item number 10 is to consider a request for a specific use permit to allow an automotive repair shop within an NC neighborhood commercial zoning district for the property located at 1109 Harriet Street. Jose Sanchez is requesting approval of the specific use permit at this location. The subject property previously received an approved specific use permit for the same use with conditions in October 2021. Due to the previous operator's failure to comply with the conditions of the SUP, the City Council revoked that permit in February of 2023. A certificate of occupancy was issued in 2024. During a subsequent review of the property's use and applicable regulations, it was determined that a specific use permit is required. Since 2023, the property has undergone substantial cleanup and improvements, including the removal of inoperable vehicles and general site enhancements. The tenant proposes to operate an automotive repair business offering services including brake repair, suspension work, alignments, tire rotations, tire repair, and air and tire services. At a joint public hearing held June 15, 2026, Planning Commission recommended 5-1 to approve the request, subject to the following conditions. Number one, maximum of 11 vehicles to be on the property at any given time, including customer and employee parking. All auto repairs must be conducted inside the shop. Number three, shall remain in compliance with the building code, fire code, zoning code, offenses and nuisances code, health and sanitation code, and all other applicable codes of the city. And then number four, shall meet all requirements by water utilities for water and sanitary sewer services, including any requirements of the city's backflow pretreatment and/or fog program. The administration recommends approval of the ordinance with the same four conditions.
Thank you. Is there a motion for item number 10?
I make a motion to deny.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to deny item number 10. Is there any discussion or questions?
I don't.
Yes, Councilman Durio.
And the reason I'm voting with the motion for deny, because they're already, I passed by there right before the P&Z meeting, and they had over 20 cars parked on that corner already, and they were already operating without a specific use permit. And this happened before, like in 2021, and at that corner right there on the corner of Harriet and Park, I think it is. When you pull up to that stop sign, they're right there, and they have all those cars there, and then on the other side, they got dump trucks. You can't see. You can't see what's coming down Harriet Street because of all those cars that are parked there, and they work on outside, inside, and they always have more than 11 cars. So, and this place it does have a different occupant, but it's the same owner as 2021. Just explaining my vote.
Yes, sir. Any other? Yes, Councilman Williams.
How is it currently zoned?
Neighborhood commercial.
So, okay, thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor of denying item number 10, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, would you please take us into the work session?
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. Next, we have a work session to review and receive feedback on an ordinance establishing child safety zones within the city.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. At the request of the Mayor and several other council people, we are presenting the overview of the ordinance to establish child safety zones within the city. So just to start off with, this is something that is allowable through state law. Local Government Code, Chapter 341 does allow for that for home rule municipalities, as well as an AG opinion. When reviewed by courts, it is given a rational basis review standard, which means what's in the best interest of the city, but also not to be cumbersome to the individuals that impact. Next slide. So just for purposes to the overview of the ordinance does grandfather in existing residencies or group homes, halfway houses that are already established. As long as those maintain a proper CO, they are fine. If a individual is currently residing in what the city has determined to be a safety zone and approved housing, as long as they maintain a current status within that residency, they would not be evicted. I do want to point out to council that in our review of several other cities, we looked at what was challenged the most, and ordinances that were not constructive evictions of existing housing seem to be the most effective. The ordinance does set a minimum distance buffer between those child safety zone and residences, those of which are established or defined in our ordinance. Later on in the presentation, we'll be asking for council's feedback on that. Next slide. Also like to point out that it does penalize both the occupant and the landlord for a violation of the ordinance, just to give it more teeth. Again, in our review of several other cities, it was determined that ordinances that also implied a penalty to the property owner, whereas most of these individuals are renters, seem to be the most effective. The ordinance does currently, the one we're proposing allows for 1,000 feet buffer. However, you can go up to 2,000 feet. In connection with this project, we did ask our community development department, specifically planning, to search to do a study for both 1,000 and 2,000 feet to make sure that it would not create an undue burden. Again, when we looked at the situation, we determined that the ordinances that were the most effective were ones that did not create a housing burden or a constructive eviction. Next slide. This is the attached map that we were referring to. The map itself shows in red 1,000 feet and in blue the 2,000 feet. Again, council can propose a lesser zone, 500, but the most common is 1,000, with some cities opting for 1,500 up to 2,000 feet. Again, making sure that their ordinances were not restrictive. I would like to point out that an ordinance that would push individuals outside of the city would be heavily contested and could be unconstitutional or illegal, in my opinion. Next slide. So implementation and feasibility, most of the implementation would fall on the part of the police department. In our ordinance review of the ordinance, we did send this to PD and ask them what tools that they would need and how they would handle it. So I'm not going to speak to what they suggested on manpower. The chief is here, and he can, if council has any questions on that, you can address that to him. However, they did indicate that without software that allowed them to do quick checks, that it would create an undue burden on the department. The software for just the city would be $23,000. If we wanted to do a countywide project, it would be $34,000. There are some other cities that have expressed interest in doing so. Obviously, this is a good time to talk about it because they can include it in their budget as well. We have done something like this in the past with our FUSIS, if council remembers that, our FUSIS system for our real-time crime center. We have several partners that take place in that, and they cost share for that as well. This will be a similar MOU and a similar cost sharing analysis for that. Also like to point out, and again, this is something that you could discuss with the chief, that for a population, we did do a comparable registrant population. We looked at cities that had a similar registrant population as ours, and they have a significantly more manpower assigned to it in situations like 3 or 4, where we currently only have one person dedicated that would do it. So again, council just needs to consider that it may require more police effort than we have currently assigned. Next slide. So next steps, as we discussed, we're obviously looking for a recommendation for council on distancing. We'd like to receive a recommendation regarding software, i.e. if council would be interested in doing a county-wide MOU, or if you just want us to move forward with city only. Not asking council to approve the adoption. It is currently budgeted for FY27. If council were to approve it, we just need to know if we're going with 34 or 23. Also want to discuss a timeline for adoption, notice, and rollout for implementation. So obviously council could adopt the ordinance at its next scheduled council meeting, but we do need time to send out, we would ask for delayed implementation, is that we would need to send out notices to individuals that would be impacted and allow for implementation of the ordinance allowing for PD to either get the software implemented and installed, keeping in mind that without the software, it would be a very hard process to implement quickly and effectively. The other part to this that I want to point out to council is that there's two types of registrants in Texas, and I don't know that most people know this. There's a lifetime registrant and there's also a 10-year registrant. Councilman Crenshaw shaking his head because I know that this is familiar to him. This ordinance only his legal practice, his legal practice, his legal practice, his legal practice. Because he's a lawyer. As I say, it's not something that most people are familiar with if they're not actively practicing in criminal law. This is something I actually had to look up to as well. This ordinance would only impact someone who's actively required to register. What does that mean? That means someone who is currently on the register list for a 10-year offender who is in his last 6 months would not be impacted by this ordinance because after he's no longer required to register, he can live wherever he wants. The most impact that this has is on your lifetime registrants because someone could technically buy a house prior to the adoption of this ordinance in a buffer zone and be allowed to live there and stay there for quite a while. They could also lease an apartment. And I know that to do a 10-year lease is obscene, but they could essentially go month to month and be a tenant that way. And as long as they are in an approved housing at the time of the ordinance, they would not be encumbered by this. Next slide. There we have it. Yes, sir.
So if someone's currently registering and they live within the distance that we propose, then they would be able to stay there?
Yes, sir. The ordinance does grandfather in existing housing for existent registrant as that is approved housing. However, let's just say that individual who is currently in that zone allows his lease, or he gets evicted, or he doesn't do that, or a group home loses their CO or loses their ability, then they no longer have that protected status.
Do we know how many people are kind of living within these zones currently?
We didn't do a search for that. I can tell you that there are some facilities that are located within that zone, and several of those individuals would be grandfathered in. Most of the time when someone's paroled or put on probation, they're assigned to a group home. And so that's an approved location for them to live. That approved location would stay approved as long as they maintain their CO, as long as they maintain their status.
And you said the maximum distance that you felt comfortable with was 2,000 feet?
So we leaned heavily on our planning department, and I can refer to our community development director for that to answer that question, but they determined that 2,000 would not be a burden for housing. Again, with the understanding that council is prohibited from adopting, in my opinion, I'm using the word prohibited because that's kind of what the court said, is that an ordinance that would push individuals out of the city would be considered a construction eviction and would be unconstitutional. Because the city has a large land mass and we have several housing options, 2,000 was a comfortable number. If we were a smaller community or a more tightly woven land mass, that number would obviously be smaller.
I believe Councilman Hilliard.
So when we pass this ordinance, these group homes, can they accept more?
Yes. So the group home is the one that's protected, not the individual, because the group home itself is the one that has a CO and has that status. And so they would be allowed to stay. And because it's an approved housing, those individuals could still stay. So they could still accept residents. What would happen is that the group home lost its status. So for whatever, they lost their licenses or they lost their CO, they failed inspection with the state, and they were no longer allowed to call themselves or operate as a group home for any period of time. They would lose that status because now it's no longer approved housing.
So is there a way that we can warn, like a sign in the yard at these group homes or something to say, hey, there's child sex offenders that live here? So that people will know. I know that I've seen it in other states where when you register, you have to, they give you a sign to put in your yard.
So, signs are pretty controversial in Beaumont. So that's a forward thinking. I think that you would get a lot of pushback on that in the sense that they are trying to integrate them back into society. That's obviously a discussion for council. Not saying it couldn't happen. I just know that, again, the ordinance and the purpose of the ordinance is intended to be the protection of our children and not to be punitive to these individuals. So the focus should be on what would be like more safety and not necessarily a scarlet letter for them. Yes, sir.
So for people watching, can you kind of explain the process? You move into a neighborhood, you don't know it's a group home, and you have kids, and you move close to a sex offender. How do people know how to go through the process of searching it, knowing that?
So there are several websites that are used and are applicable for this for individuals to determine like where they are, and you pop up and it shows you all the red marks on the map. I also know that working with a good realtor is key. Most people who are realtors in Beaumont know our area and know which neighborhoods have group homes and where they're located. Some of the best group homes, you don't even know that they're group homes. So I think that individuals who have those concerns can do their due diligence by just searching online.
Councilman Crenshaw.
Thank you for researching that, Attorney Reed, and for staff that participated in that. I think this is very important. I'm in favor of the 2,000-foot designation. It's the maximum under law, and as looks like staff's research on it, it would not be burdensome and would be approved by the guidelines the courts have set forth for cities to be able to act on these types of things. While I'd like to see this put into place as soon as possible, I do know that this will require effort on behalf of staff, and it's budget season. We've got a lot going on. So I think January 1st of 2027 is a reasonable date. So that's what I'm throwing out there. But like I said, as soon as possible would be great if we could do it October 1 of this year. But due to the implementation and all that's going to be required for it, I do think that the first of the year is also reasonable.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman?
I'd like to make sure that we speak with Chief about the actual implementation of this, and if January 1 of 27 is feasible, 1, and 2, what is the actual impact on the budget going to be?
So, but as the chief is coming up, I know that he's going to talk to you about manpower, which he and I have had several conversations about, which you really can't determine in terms of that, especially if you wanted to implement it prior to the January 1st, because we wouldn't have the software, which means someone would be spending significant amount of time to pull up the map, making sure the map's updated. So it require not just PD, but staff from planning to work with them as well. In terms of hard costs, council would need to tell us if they wanted to do the citywide or I'm just saying the city or county-wide software purchase, because that would determine how much a city puts out, because we would do a per capita share with any of our participating cities. And I'll just.
Yes, as our city attorney has talked in it, several people have indicated support. It benefits us to have integration between communities because they move between communities. And the system, the one we're looking at has indicated that it's a initial build out that would be, if it's the county-wide, it's going to be this cost, but it's only if we do it all at once. That's why we sort of need guidance on whether you want to do it just for the city or if the region. This is budget time. I had the opportunity to reach out again to some of these agencies while they're in their same process as we are and seeing how many of them would be willing to participate. The difference in cost could probably be made up even if a few cities participate, and it may actually lower, if everybody participated, it would lower our city cost. So I think it's a beneficial deal. The system that we have now is only a name database. It doesn't have any searchability, it doesn't have notifications, it doesn't have the ability to help us investigate these cases. We had a officer, light duty officer assigned who checked some of these databases from a desk. And by connecting some of these databases that exist, within a week, she was able to find 10 people that were violating. So, you know, our one person that does registry right now is overwhelmed with just what the DPS requirements are for registry. So when you add a requirement like this, which is very valuable, I think we've made it comfortable to be here as a sex offender. We have 900 right now. It increased about 7% the last couple of years. And so we're looking at about 3 times the average number of sex offenders as other agencies in state average. You know, and so we need the ability to help with the registry, the timeliness of the notifications, and the ability for these automatic checks that are done, and they will help give us notifications when the databases aren't matching. It's going to help in some of the cursory effects.
But overall, impact to your budget, what are we saying? Because we're coming up on budget season where we're issuing, well, we've got, you know, some issues that we're trying to address as far as budget is concerned. You're needing more manpower and software. What are we looking at? Tentatively.
We're suggesting this software to help us. That alone will help us keep up with the registry requirements, the registry increase workload that would be occasioned by adding a perimeter and all these different searches that would be incorporated into the system. You'd immediately know what this is. So the software alone will help us keep up with the registry. We can continue doing enforcement the way we have, and if there's a request, that just the software itself provides somewhat of enforcement ability because it gives us the ability to check between systems. It's much more timely notifications. So we'll be able to manage it better now than if we had the software than we do now.
So
without any more manpower.
In terms of cost, though, it depends. Without talking about manpower, it depends on where the council wanted to go with city or countywide, and then we would, after we get that direction today, the chief and I would start working with these other cities and their city attorneys to determine if and what per capita share they felt comfortable with doing their budget. So this is prime time to have this conversation so that we can talk to them so they can determine if we're going to split it equally per capita share based on land mass.
I know Councilman Williams and Durio has a question. I'm assuming that if we go countywide, we could end up paying less than if everybody participated.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my question was just, have you had any indication from any other cities that they would participate, or? have you had
One
that
city
conversation?
immediately said that they would support it. A lot of the others probably have to do the same as us and go back and talk to the people that approved the money. And I need to give them a little more than just, do you want to do it? And if we're going to do it, I'll go back to them and try to get a hard answer.
So it would be like a shared software, but then everybody would police their own.
Similar to how we do FUSES, it'd be a shared software and a per capita shared cost. And so we would do it through the MOU, but we have several of these type of shared. I think we even have like our communication one. We have one shared with
Radio system.
Yeah, radio system, Port Arthur, Needle and Orange. So we have several of these where the city fronts the cost and everybody puts in on their share of those expenses.
And do other cities in the county have a similar ordinance in place already, or would it be tailored to?
I believe that most cities would essentially be more comfortable adopting an ordinance if they had software that allowed for them for enforcement. So it's not necessarily the adoption of the ordinance, it's the enforceability. It doesn't make sense for you to adopt something if you don't have the tools or the manpower to do it. So the software, as the chief is mentioning, would really take some of the burden off of those officers or the individual who's required to check just the basic state requirements, for them to be in compliance, this additional hurdle would also allow them to kind of have just another tool that kind of relieves that. So without it, I think it would be almost impossible for them to make an accurate decision. Because what you don't want to do is say somebody's allowed to live there because you looked at the map wrong, and then they're there.
So by taking the lead on this, we're kind of enhancing the safety of the entire county.
Right. So Beaumont's the county seat, and most people don't realize that. So we're the county seat for Beaumont. So it's not for Jefferson County. So it's not uncommon for us to kind of step out first, and other cities to kind of follow along and fall in line. It happened with our adoption of a game room ordinance. It's happened with the repeal of our game room ordinance. So Beaumont kind of for the county usually is the one to kind of set the tone. As being the largest city, we could kind of afford in some cases to kind of take those risks and kind of take those costs.
What would the impact be if we adopted an ordinance immediately before the software?
Just to Chief's point is it would require a lot of coordination between the police department and the planning department to operate the map. There's also not a system in place now to really coordinate it. So you're talking about substantial more work, substantial more manpower, and then probably not as effective as you would want to see your ordinance be.
But couldn't, I mean, I'm just thinking if it's in place and you can't enforce it so good now, but down the road, once you have the software, couldn't you go, hey, you moved in there after the adoption of that ordinance?
So what happens is if someone, let's just, for example, someone moved into an area after the adoption of the ordinance with the city's approval because one of our individuals misread the map, didn't understand. They're there because that's a mistake.
So they would be.
There's a mistake on the city. So we don't get to say we made a mistake, you got to go. They get to benefit from that mistake.
Okay.
So I mean, that's a very plausible thing. I think it'd be not necessarily likely to happen, but human error is high when you're working with individuals relying on other people's information. So there's an individual in planning that's reading the map. There's a PD officer who's relying on that assessment, transposing of addresses. There's a lot of things that could go wrong, but I'll let the chief kind of.
I agree. I think we'd work with IT to in the company to make sure, it's got to be procured in the right manner. There's some steps that have to be taken to make it work. I think the company had thought it might take a couple months to get everything set up. Again, we need to work with IT on that. We need time to make it happen.
Okay.
So just when any other software has to be built out and compatible with our system and fleshed out.
I think city manager has something, then we'll make sure everybody on council.
Just real quick, and that's what I was going to ask or bring up is, in my mind, it's the sooner the better, because every day that goes by, we're losing that impact. Not that it's a tremendous influx, but whatever that is. But having said that, it sounds like we don't want to move forward without the software. So I know we've got to discuss with our partners, get an MOU, and then procurement on our end. So, I mean, from talking to the vendor, would it seem like October 1st might be realistic?
I couldn't answer that right now.
Okay.
I can try to find out.
We're not asking you to adopt it today, but that's one of the things we can kind of determine is what might be a reasonable adoption for the software. Because it does sound like we don't want to move forward with the ordinance and enforcement without the software.
So what we need from council, I think Councilman Crenshaw recommended the 2,000 feet and then an implementation of January 1st. Obviously, that would be the latest. If we could do it before then we would be aiming to do it before then. The real big hindrance for today's discussion is countywide or citywide.
I would suggest countywide and certainly reach out to our partners. This is what leadership looks like, within a community.
And I'm cool with countywide, but not to exceed that January 1st date. If we start stringing out that long, I prefer that we move forward as Beaumont.
So if we were to look at it for countywide, what that would do is allow us to send out and do the budget and purchasing for that amount. We would obviously be working with our cities right now to determine their buy-in, and then try to have the software purchase or council, y'all aware, after y'all approve a budget, the next council meeting is nothing but an influx of contracts to be approved. So it looks similar to that. It doesn't take, like, once the software is put in place and up and running, we could obviously have it, but council could adopt the ordinance with the understanding that it would be implemented no later than, and we can include that notice, and we could obviously provide updated notice if we're ready to move forward with implementation of the ordinance sooner. That would be available too. So we can word it that way as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
When you say county, I know it's all the cities in the county, but would the Jefferson County Sheriff Department also be participating?
They're eligible.
They are?
They're eligible to
But
participate.
y'all are gonna approach them as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And also, could you find out, cities of our size, do they use 1,000 or 2,000 feet?
So when we were looking,
Average.
there's not a lot of cities that have child safety zones. And when we were looking for model ordinances, we looked at cities that are similar to Beaumont, but not necessarily compatible in size. We were looking at who had the best ordinance. Beaumont's unique in that it has a lot of industry work here, so it attracts individuals who construction work and port work, all of which are second chance employers. So it does attract different. So that's kind of hard to some of our other sister cities that are similar in size because they don't have that unique situation. So I can tell you that cities with our population, we have a higher, as the chief mentioned, higher per capita amount. There are cities that are similar in size to us that do have similar ordinances. But like I said, the average was most commonly was 1,000. The average was 1,500. But there are cities that have 2,000. It's really based on your land mass, not necessarily the number of individuals that you have in your city, but land mass. So even though a city could have the same population as Beaumont, they could be more dense, meaning that their people are closer together versus Beaumont that is more like spread out. So land mass wise, Port Arthur's a perfect example. Land mass wise, Port Arthur's very vast, but they have a smaller population, right? So they would have the ability land mass wise to do something different as well.
And you mentioned some people had pushback or they'll bring you to court over. What are the reasons that they're pushing back on this?
So in terms of, like, again, you have to keep, there are a lot of things to value. A solid ordinance is one that focuses more on safety of children and not necessarily for trying to push individuals to one side of the community or push them out of quote unquote certain high value neighborhoods. So that's not the intent of the ordinance. The intent of the ordinance is to keep them away from what we consider safety zones, parks, schools, those things like that. And so those are established as safety zones for children, as opposed to saying that they can't live in Ward 1 or 2, or they can only live in Wards 4, or they can't live in Ward 3, things like that. Specifically, like using Ward 3, who has a substantial amount of parks, you would say they can't live in Ward 3 because they have parks. Well, that might be true, but there are areas in Ward 3 that may be available to them. In areas that ordinances that receive the most pushback is when they created a constructive eviction, which means that once they were approved, they had to leave their already established home. Our ordinance made it impossible for group homes to exist and take in residents. Ordinances that pushed individuals out of the city. So this ordinance, we were very particular, and shout out to our community development department that did a lot of the legwork in making sure that in picking any of those buffer zones, that individuals would still have available housing, available affordable housing to them. That's another thing. You could also push somebody to say that they could only live in this area of town with the understanding that they couldn't afford it. So they couldn't live there. So they would have no options for housing in the city. So we were intentional in making sure that in establishing either of these zones, that there was still available affordable housing for individuals.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or concerns? I think we've given good instruction.
Do they have?
So just quickly, talking to my staff, they're saying 90 days from signature is what the vendor told them. So if you sign October 1st, January might be a little tough. But we can, I mean, we'll get as close as possible.
Well, if we decide to move forward and can move forward, we can go, I assume you can make the effective date later, but we could go ahead and move forward with getting the software
Outside of budget.
procurement. Well, of course.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
In other
if we
words-
did outside of budget, then that wouldn't be a problem. If we're waiting on the October 1st budget, then yes, it would be.
I would ask that we move forward as quickly as possible since we're dealing with the safety of kids, and so we go out of budget. I mean, we're only talking about, what, 34,000?
If we did countywide, and that's the max that we would spend, but obviously that,
We could
I'm
recoup
assuming
that.
more people would pay.
That seems like a small price to pay for child safety.
We could have the ordinance brought back for the next meeting in July, which would allow for IT to move forward with the procurement process if that was something council was doing, so we can bring those items back.
Well, it's under 50,000, so we wouldn't have to bring the purchase back.
Well, we've got to, yeah, I mean, it's fine. We got to pass the ordinance, but
Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying. That would allow the ordinance. And when I said procurement, I just meant putting it on the budget for it to come back to council. But we could put those items on the agenda for the next meeting in July for council to approve. So you would be approving the review of the ordinance and the purchase of the software. And Chief and I will start working really fast to contact those other agencies to determine if they're interested in participating.
thank you. All right, with that, we're going to move into council member comments, and I'm going to begin with Councilman Durio.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. Just congratulate all folks that came through this morning, got the proclamations, the gift of life, pioneering women. They had the lady come and discuss, I think today was human trafficking day or something like that. And also Jim, King of the Road, his 20th anniversary. And also the mayor presented the key to the city, the PJ Lock of the Dallas Cowboys for not only, I mean, he's been in the NFL for going on 8 years now, but for coming back to his community and doing things for the kids here. That was very special. A couple of other things. Can I get an update on Alice Keith Pool? I just keep seeing on the news that it's closed.
Yes, sir.
And planning zone, I noticed a lot of times when they have somebody has to go before a joint meeting of the P&Z Commission and City Council, and they may get something approved at the P&Z meeting, and then like today, but they don't show up at the City Council meeting. Do they know that they need to come to, or that it has to go to council before what P&Z decided is approved?
Yes, that's
They do?
communicated to them. Yes.
Okay. Okay, and I think that was it. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July.
Thank you, Councilman Durio. Councilman Hilliard.
I want to echo what Chris said, and big congratulations to our health department, and way to go. That's a pretty big deal, and we're super proud of you for that. And again, we had the gift of life here about, every man needs to go and get checked, and we had a survivor. Not only that, but we have Chris as a survivor and Chief as a survivor, and so that's a big deal for people to go get checked. I mean, it doesn't make you any less of a man, it makes you more of a man. So thank you for that, and like I said, hope everybody had a great 4th, and 250 years. Wow, it's pretty cool. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Turner.
Thank you, man. I just want to do a special shout out to PJ Lott. I'm glad he's with my favorite team now, but yeah, what he do with these kids is tremendous. You often see people make it from this area and to come back and do something that positive is truly appreciated. One thing I had a question about, and I want staff to look into it and kind of send it to me in writing. I got some questions about our consulting agreements with prior staff that comes back and consults with particular positions. whether it be finances, whether it be anything in general. I'm interested in knowing what is the hourly pay that we do when people retire and they come back and do the work, and how many departments are doing it, and how long do they last? How long have they been lasting on average? Just diving into the budgets, looking at some of those things. I just want to make sure it's not something that's just reoccurring yearly. I understand maybe learning the process and over a certain period of time is transitioned on, but to consistently do it, I think that's something we should definitely look into. Secondly, congratulations to staff for the years of service, as well as the health department for the award. And another thing that's real big to me, I want to shout out Miss Emily Wheeler with the events department to pull off 2 holidays back to back that close with massive crowds was huge. She pulled off an awesome Juneteenth celebration, and to turn around and do it for the 4th of July was amazing. So, when we have people doing great things like that, I think we should always give them their kudos.
Thank you, Councilman. And, yes, sir.
Yeah, same thing, Beaumont events. The firework display was awesome, and really the celebrations all around the country. It was really a beautiful 4th of July. But also, for our community, 4th of July marks the anniversary of the historic flooding in the Hill Country. And, it'll mean a totally different thing to those people for the rest of their lives. And, some friends of mine, I know others up here, are the bakers, and they're having their lemonade stand Sunday in support of the Mary Grace Baker Foundation from 4 to 6 Sunday at 880 Larkspur. So I would encourage you, if you don't have anything going on, go support them and show your love and appreciation. And just can't imagine it. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sherwood.
It's a great day in Beaumont, and particularly in Ward 3. I keep getting questions about sidewalks and drainage and all the things. The portion of the bond that did pass, a lot of it is coming to Ward 3. So we can look forward to some of those projects coming down the pipe. We've got a lot of work that is happening currently, particularly with sidewalks and drainage. So I kind of want to speak to that because it keeps coming up. The work is going to happen. Hang on, help is on the way, okay? So I'd like to start there. Also, too, we've got a lot happening with budget discussions, right? Now's the time to kind of address those things with your council person. Make sure that you understand what's happening, what funds we have, and where the money's going, because these conversations will become tricky, and before you know it, it'll be in your face, and we'll get a lot of complaints. So we want to get in the front of that, or at least I do. It is Men's Health Month, right? Congratulations, guys. Go get checked. Take care of yourself. Good job. This place, the Brandis, that is a drop-in youth center. I'm excited about that because this is a place where people under the age of 22 can come and drop in when they need help, when they're being abused, when they're in tough situations and difficult things are happening. So I'd like to promote things like this because this is a big deal when you're feeling unsafe. When home is not a safe space, this matters. I'm excited about the prayer, and there's also my continuing month prayer at the harvest. I will get the date for that, and we're still praying for our community and our young people. 4th of July was great. Kudos to Beaumont on Juneteenth and 4th of July. Good job. Let's keep up the good work, and congratulations to all the staff that is putting in hard work. Beaumont is going to be everything that we need it to be. Good job.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To echo what Councilman Williams said about July 4th and the devastating Hill Country flood, and remembering and honoring all of those victims 1 year later. And please come out Sunday to support the Mary Grace Baker lemonade stand. The Also, kudos to staff for putting together the presentation today and the workshop on the child safety zones, or whatever that is called. And to Miss Bonnie Spots with the Crisis Center for staying on the council to prioritize that and get that done. I know she's put a lot of effort into that, and it's been an important issue for her, and it's an important issue for all of us with child safety. So thank you for that. And lastly, I think it was last week, but maybe it was the week before that, someone complained about sewer problems on Tangledall Street. And water services. Mike Harris, is Mike still here? There he is. Mike did a phenomenal job in explaining to this individual why their sewer issues on that side of town are impacted by what's going on at the 23rd Street lift station and the problems that we have there. And I was hoping that just for clarification, I hate to put Mike on the spot, but maybe it's better for Molly to do it. But just sewer issues with all of the rain that we've had lately have, it's just a constant source of issues and concerns that we get from residents. And I just thought that what Mike did with that explanation, explaining the flow of your sewage and where, how it goes across the city and why it has to go to those lift stations, and the problems that we have at some of those lift stations that are currently under construction, and why these issues are not quickly addressed and why they are a reoccurring problem. I was just hoping for maybe just a quick 3 minutes from someone on staff that could let the public know that yes, it is something that we're aware of. Yes, it is something that we're spending money and resources to fix. We know it. It's a very frustrating problem. We do hear those frustrations, and please don't think that you send us a complaint or an email and we just, forward it off and move on about our day. These are issues that I know a staff takes a significant amount of resources and time trying to address, and those sewer issues are something that we're working on constantly. And with that,
Yeah, Councilman, I would just share, we staff met yesterday, and I think we talked about doing, one of the issues with these sewer backups when we get these heavy rains especially is it's I&I, so it's infiltration of the sanitary system with floodwater because there are faults in the system. But we talked yesterday about, between Molly and Mike, we think it's probably a good idea for the benefit of the public, especially as we're going into budget season, to talk about what the issue, explain to folks what the issues are, why we're having the issues, things that we've done in the past, what is the plan, things we've done in the past, things we're doing now, and things we're gonna do to try to address the situation. So again, we talked about that yesterday, and we will have a work session on that issue here pretty soon.
Great.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Madam City Attorney.
So I just want to echo Councilman Durio's comments. Super excited for the Locke family and to have PG on America's team. Super excited for that, and congratulations to him. And I appreciate all he does for the community, but more specifically, I appreciate that he'll be in the right colors this fall. So thank you for that. I also want to say thank you to our police department and our community development department and our IT department for their help in being able to put the presentation on for council today. For individuals who are watching, whenever council asks us for an ordinance, even though it's my job to primarily draft these ordinances, it does make sure that the ordinance is going to be effective and enforceable if we work with those agencies that it's going to impact. So it does take a while for us to draft it and write it, but also roundtable it with those different departments to make sure that it's going to work for the city and be in its best interest. So definitely want to let council know that although I presented, it did move through all the channels and all the hands to make sure that it's going to be an item that works well for our city. I do also want to just kind of make this comment that although it's a very sensitive topic for our city, and I know that anyone who's a parent would say that, you know, the safety of our children is paramount. This ordinance is not intended to be harmful for individuals who have to register. It's intended to make sure that our children and their parents feel safe in our parks and feel safe in the areas that we've designated as child safety zones. And so for individuals who are watching, that was the charge that was given to our office in writing it. That was something that we look for. It was never explained or expressed to me that we push individuals out of the city, but that also that we just make sure that our children and their parents felt that the city was doing everything possible to make sure that our families, especially our babies, felt safe.
Thank you. Yes, Councilman.
Mr. Mayor, if I can make one more quick comment, I see in the back of the room there is Dave Collins. And it is so great to see Dave here and wearing a shirt now that says the City of Beaumont. Dave used to be with TxDOT, and he was great at communication and great at helping me in particular help solve issues and problems we were having on our local roads with TxDOT. And he has now left TxDOT and has joined, I believe he is Molly's number 2. Is he the deputy director or yes, deputy public works director? Great. And it is awesome having him, and welcome aboard. And I look forward to sending you daily emails.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, Molly.
Well, now that Councilman Crenshaw has stolen my first announcement,
Sorry.
it's all good. No, thrilled to have Dave join our team. Definitely is a huge benefit to our team. Already seeing great things, and I'm very excited to work with him on this side of the table. So. Next, I definitely want to congratulate Beaumont Events and Emily Wheeler for the wonderful work that they've done on the recent major festivities that they've arranged. Also, want to voice my support for our city attorney and for all the work that you do for help for us as a city and for me personally. Thank you. I also want to express my condolences to the family and friends of my uncle and City of Beaumont Parks retiree, Anselmo Pepe Castillo, who passed away last week. And one of his proudest moments is to tell family that he retired from the City of Beaumont, so he will be greatly missed. Also, to the concern expressed today about the relocation of the gas and water service lines. The leak, if I get out ahead of Mike Harris, the leaks that were pointed out recently have been fixed. And I think you're still scheduling the burial of the water services. It's not the same crew that does the leak repairs versus shooting in the new services. I did hear back from the gas company today. They are working on relocating their gas service lines. That is a work in progress, and they will notify us once that work is complete. Unfortunately, we don't dictate the gas company's schedule. Also, too, for the quiet zone update, there are some remaining punch list items, but because this work has to be done within the railroad right-of-way, we have to work with the flagging company, and that is presenting some coordination issues with the flaggers so that the contractor can get onto the property to finish the work. They expect to be done at the end of next week. Then once that work is complete, the information can be sent to the Federal Railroad Authority for further processing. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam CFO.
Quickly, just wanted to give a congratulations to Mr. Coleman and the Public Health Department. Awesome to be nationally recognized. Also, congratulations to Emily and her crew for the successful Juneteenth and July 4th event. She always does a great job. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor, Council, real quickly, I'll echo some of those sentiments. Congratulations to Public Health on their recognition. Congratulations again to the employees on their long tenure with the city. Shout out again to Emily Wheeler and her crew, police, fire, but I'm gonna say also the support crew because they also don't get the love, right? So I'm seeing Emily on her radio, and I know that they're using computers and procurement gets all their stuff. So there's a lot of support operations that are behind that. But yeah, they're first and foremost on Juneteenth and 4th of July, and they were amazing celebrations. So shout out to them. Let's see. Last thing I was going to mention, well, condolences to Molly on your uncle, Mr. Castillo, who's an employee of the city of Beaumont, retired from Parks. So condolences to you. And then finally, just a quick reminder, July 15th, 9 a.m. is our budget work session. And also, as mentioned, you should have in front of you the responses from the questions from the prior. So, but that's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Mr. City Manager. And again, Health Department national recognition, that's fabulous. And it is, and also on your 35th anniversary or your time of your 35th anniversary working here. And Juneteenth and 4th of July, which both have happened since our last council meeting, were both huge successes and incredible events for people of Beaumont, but also the surrounding community. And if you had never been, we certainly invite you to come. Also, after our budget workshop, we do have the Coalition Against Violence on the 15th at the Event Center as well, 5:30. We've got a number of mentors signed up that have been trained. We are going to be looking for additional, and we will continue to be working with BISD in this coming school year in mentoring. So certainly want to thank them as well. And with that, the meeting is now adjourned.